Welcome back to another episode of the Becoming an Online Sales Queen podcast. And if you've not been here before, welcome to your first ever episode. This is a juicy one. You've joined us for a really juicy one, actually. Not many coaches or business owners, for that matter, ever talk about what we're about to dive into, because today I am going to unpack failed payments, bad clients, and refund requests, okay? And I think the reason that not many people talk about this is because they're scared of what it says about them. They're scared that if they ever talk about the fact that they've had a failed payment or a misaligned client, that it says something bad about them and is not going to reflect well on them, and therefore they keep it to themselves. But I am not into the habit of gatekeeping. I believe in being utterly transparent with you all. I have had bad clients. I have had failed payments. Luckily, I've not had any refund requests. So let's dive in. I've made a few notes on my mobile, and if you're a first-time listener here on the podcast, what you probably should know is that we also stream this onto my YouTube channel as well. So if you prefer to watch rather than just listen, you can head on over to YouTube. The link will be in the show notes for you. So yeah, like I say, I've made a few notes, and I am just going to say it from the heart. I've got nothing to hide. If you've got any questions at all about any of this, if you feel like in your business you're being affected by failed payments, then strategically there's things that we can do to fix that. Energetically, there's things that we can do to fix that. So if you've got any questions at all, I'm always really, really open to you dropping into my Instagram DMs and just asking me, okay? Up until this point, I'm in my 9th year now in business. It would be crazy to assume that in 9 years of business, I haven't had any hiccups. Of course I have. Have I had to instruct lawyers, bad debt agencies? Of course, absolutely. And you probably will as well. I see it as a kind of rite of passage, like I've sold over 1 million in personal sales. It would be crazy to assume that none of this stuff was going to affect me. Okay. So it has, and I'm going to share it with you today. So the first thing I always consider when there is any challenge that comes up in business, anything which doesn't feel good to me, my first consideration is, did I create this? Yeah, because I believe wholeheartedly in us taking ownership. We take ownership of the good, the bad, and the ugly, okay? We can't just take ownership of the good stuff we create. We have to take ownership of the stuff that's not so good as well. So if, for example, I was to have a misaligned client, which I've had, or failed payments, I first ask myself, did I create this? Is there something about the way that I have put together my offer or my messaging or my payment plans? Is there something about the way that I've gone about this which has created this situation? So it may be the process, or it may be a lack of process. It may be a decision that I made. It may be a strategic thing. It could be an energetic thing. So just to give you an example, it was me that allowed this. I allowed a misaligned client into my mastermind program. This was probably 3 years ago now, maybe even slightly longer than that. And it did not feel good. Yes, I cried. Yes, I had sleepless nights. It was not good. And it went on for a number of weeks before I did something about it. So what I want you to always remember is, if it doesn't feel good, deal with it as fast as you can, because the longer it takes you to deal with it, the harder it's going to be. So excuse my computer making noises. This misaligned client that I had in my mastermind, she would show up completely uncoachable. Now, what I mean by that is I was there to answer the girls' questions and to mastermind through their strategic challenges and really help and support them. When it came to her turn to, bring a challenge, she never had any. But when I was teaching and supporting the other ladies, she would always want to throw in her point of view, which is absolutely fine in my mastermind. It's always a conversation rather than a one-way street. And she would appear that everything she was doing was perfect and that she was completely uncoachable, because she never needed help. She never wanted to know anything. She never thought that what she was doing was not the best thing. And she would try to sort of push her ideas and her thoughts onto other people because her way was the best way. And one of the first rules of being a great coachee is to be open. You don't always have to take the guidance of your coach or mentor. Of course you don't. It's your business, your rules. That's one of my biggest mantras: your business, your rules. But to not even listen, to not even be open, and to put your own ideas forward as the best, well, actually, it comes across as quite self-centered and definitely not in the least bit coachable. And to add to that, in each session, I could see that she was private messaging some of the other girls on the program. I could see that because I could see the look on their faces when they saw the little Zoom message pop up. I could see sniggers and giggles and side eyes. I could just see that she was being a nuisance. She was being an absolute pain in the arse. And the first week I noticed it, I did nothing. The second week I noticed it, I still did nothing. I think that was the week I might have cried because it felt like it was about me. It felt personal, even though it actually wasn't. It was all about her. And by, I think, the third or the fourth week, I was like, right, this is not happening, because this is changing the experience for the others. This is affecting my energy, my mood, and it's also affecting the other girls. And one of the other girls had made reference to it, so I knew it was happening. So I invited this lady onto a one-to-one and just said, like, I need to talk to you about what's been going on in the calls. I've noticed your behavior. I'm not exactly sure what's causing it, but I thought if we just had a conversation together that you could maybe, fill me in on how you're feeling and we can go from there. And sure enough, she opened up and said that she was having a really tough time in her business. Things were really hard. I think actually she was being taken to court by a client, was really affecting her energy, but she didn't share any of that. She didn't give me the opportunity in the mastermind to support her for the reason I said at the beginning of the show. Like, she was afraid of what it would say about her. So instead, she appeared completely uncoachable and made it look like it was everybody else's issue. And so she apologized. I let her stay in the program, but I'm not going to lie and say that at the end I wasn't really, really happy. So if you find yourself with a misaligned client, what I want you to take from this is do something about it as fast as you can. I delayed. Yeah, I delayed. And now looking back, I can see I delayed. I know why I delayed, but I would never do that again. And some of the process and strategic things that you can do is to look at your messaging. Are you attracting misaligned clients because of your messaging? Are you attracting misaligned clients because of your payment plan? Do you make your payment plans so low and so long that it makes it very accessible for the wrong people to join? It could be a strategic thing in that really the best offer for this person was maybe the offer lower down in your business model, the kind of like pre-offer before the one that they're actually in. That was what was right for this lady. She actually should have been in a different offer, but she wanted to invest in the mastermind. She had the funds to do it, and I let her do it. And if I'm honest, on the sales call, there were red flags and I ignored them. I went against all of my sales morals, and I just thought I could support her and get her over her challenges really, really quickly. I wanted it for her. But the rule is, the rule of coaching is you can't want the goal more than the client. You cannot want the goal more than the client. If as a coach, you want the goal, you want the outcome more than the client, then there is usually always bad things ahead. Yeah, because they will be the clients who don't show up. They will be the clients who don't do the work. They will be the clients who start blaming your course collateral, blaming your program, the structure of your program, blaming other people in the group. They will be the ones who make excuses. So if you know that there's a misaligned client and you've seen that on the discovery call, you've seen that, you've felt that in the DM voice notes that maybe you've been having, do not sell them into the offer. I've only made that mistake once, never again. Okay. So misaligned clients, absolutely move quickly, look at your strategy, look at your pricing, look at your messaging, and make sure that you go and fix anything that looks like it needs to be fixed. Okay. So that's a little story for you on misaligned clients. If you've got a misaligned client now, like, don't worry about it. Just let it sort of flow off you. It's no big deal, but definitely don't sleep on it, girls. Right? So the next challenge, the next thing I talked about in the title of this podcast was failed payments. So what should you do if you've got a failed payment? Well, the first thing is, again, move quickly. If you are not checking your Stripe, not checking your PayPal, if you haven't got it set up for automated notifications when you have a failed payment, then that's really easy to fix. You just go into the settings, set it up so that you get alerted, the client gets alerted, and then you shouldn't end up with failed membership payments or subscription payments that roll on month after month. You don't want to end up with people owing you a lot of money. That is definitely not a good place to be. So if you've got a failed payment, notice it quickly, set it up, set your systems up so that you avoid it as much as possible. But to be honest, there's always going to be scenarios where people have got cash in a different bank account. There's so many different online banking accounts now where you can have a little savings pot and, a pot for this and a pot for that and different bank accounts. And so when people set up subscriptions, there's always going to be the potential that that account doesn't have money in it on the day that the subscription leaves the bank account. So you end up with a default payment. My first tip for you is don't lose the plot, right? Don't say, oh, I've got a failed payment. Oh my God, this is going to turn into a refund request. I'm going to have to get a lawyer. They're complaining. It may be that the payment has failed for a really genuine reason, okay? So don't come at it like a bull in a china shop. I love that saying. It's such a good saying, isn't it? Can you actually imagine what a bull in a china shop actually looks like? It actually quite cracks me up. But yeah, don't go in it like a bull in a china shop. Go in open, listen, understand, help the client to figure out what's really happening, get all the facts, and don't do anything else until you've got all the facts, okay? And then when you have got the facts, see where that failed payment scenario is going to take you next. Is it that the client says, oh, please excuse me, let me just put some money into that account. The next time Stripe, tries to deduct it, it will go through. In fact, that's another thing just to think about is that Stripe will, you can set it up to try and attempt the payment like 2 days later, 3 days later, 4 days later, and it will do so many attempts before it then says, actually, no, this is a bad debt. So yeah, get yourself set up properly in Stripe. But yeah, get all the facts, listen to the client, be really open. If they say, listen, I'll sort it, then no problem. If they say, actually, I don't have the money, then you've got a bigger issue, okay? Because they've gone into a legal contract, and you should have contracts in place. Ladies, you can't be a sales queen without adequate contracts in place. They've gone into a contract, you have gone into that contract with them for X number of payments of X number of pounds, and they should fulfill their contractual obligation. Now, at this point, people react differently, because if you've got a client who says, I just don't have the money and I don't know when I'm ever going to have the money, therefore just kick me out the program, no problem. That may be a route that you want to take, but what if they've taken all the bonuses and all the benefits of the program up front, and therefore they've used, 80% of all the resources and paid for only 30% of the program? So what I would recommend that you do is have a simple calculation. This is something that we use in my business. If this was to ever happen, I've got like a protocol where we would look in our course platform. We would see how much of the assets, how much of the resources the client has accessed. So it will tell us which modules, which lessons, what percentage of the program they've been in. I will then also, or my team helped me with this, I can't lie, we will then also assess how many of the bonuses have they taken. So some of my group programs come with a one-to-one strategy session with me. Some come with some free courses. Some come with some free tools and templates. and we will look at how many of those things they've accessed and what is the value of those things. So we are able to say to a client, you have used X% of the program and the resources and my time, and you have only invested X% of the overall investment. Therefore, the cost for you to exit the program would be this. Now, I've only had to use that twice. And in both scenarios, the person said, okay, no, I won't pay my way out. I will stay in the program. Because we came at it without emotion, we came at it with logic. Yeah, we came at it with a very systemized, very process-driven methodology, rather than a screaming banshee of, you owe me money, you can't do this. Like, if you come at it with drama and with an energy like that, you will be met with drama and energy like that. So keep your cool, be logical, be rational, listen, be open, but also have a system and a process to help you deal with it. Okay. Something else, another one of my like big business mantras is, when problems hit us in business, I always say, solve all your problems twice. Solve every business problem that comes your way twice. Now, what do I mean by that? What do you mean solve it twice, Rach? What are you talking about? I mean, solve it the first time so that you solve the actual problem for the person in that actual scenario. So solve the problem as it presents itself to you today. And then the second time you solve it, you're solving it still right now, but you're solving it so that it never occurs again. So when I say solve the problem twice, what I mean is solve it for today to pacify and rectify whatever situation has occurred, but solve it so that it never reoccurs in the future. Now, solving the situation today is actually the easy bit. Solving it so that it never reoccurs is the harder bit. And this is stuff that I'm helping the girls in my mastermind with all the time. Because, my business is quite mature. I've been in business, over 8 years, in my 9th year. And some of the ladies that I work with are in their like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th year in business. And so a much more mature business that's, had a few of these challenges can therefore, open your eyes to different systems, different processes, different ways of dealing with things. So this is something that I help my clients with all the time. And if you do have any challenges like this that are making you lose sleep, please just message me. Like, I'm really happy to just answer a quick question. Drop me a message over on Instagram. But yeah, you want to be solving problems twice, once for now, once so that it never reoccurs. And the sort of things you would need to look at to avoid it ever happening again would be processes. Do you have drafted processes? Do you have clear systems, clear protocols, things that, once a trigger happens, kick off a certain chain reaction of events? So, the trigger for a certain process is customer misses a payment. And then there's a process that says, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, this is what we do in this situation. If you don't have somebody supporting you to help you draft processes, then either get yourself a mentor that can help you draft processes, like the girls in my mastermind, I help them with that, or get yourself a tech VA or a business manager, somebody that can support you. Because if you want to scale your business, if you want to support hundreds of clients, you have to have processes. You have to have adequate structures to support you. Otherwise, you'll be scaling a shit show, and nobody wants to do that. If the back end of your business feels chaotic, you will know that right now. It will feel chaotic to you if that's the case. And it is only a matter of time before that chaos is now visible to your clients. When your business is, smaller and still in the growth stage, your back end chaos is only visible to you. When you are scaling and when you are growing, that chaos becomes visible to everybody, visible to the rest of the team, visible to your clients. You'll start getting messages of bad customer service, tech not working, systems broken, passwords not working, and you will literally feel like you're scaling a shit show, and it will feel impossible. So my advice to you is Yes, this has been a bit of a juicy episode where we're looking at failed payments and refunds and bad clients and, the tricky things in business that come to challenge us. But the crux of it is take ownership for everything that you've created, put in place the right processes and structures so that it never happens again. And then when it comes to scaling your business, it's going to feel way easier to do it because scaling is about growing your income without growing your effort. But you're always going to have to grow your effort if you don't have good processes and good systems. Okay. So I hope that I have given you some ideas, some inspiration, some motivation to go and get your processes drafted, to deal with any misaligned clients that you've got in your programs, to put in the adequate screening processes and qualification processes to make sure that you are only selling the right thing to the right person at the right time. Yeah. So I hope that this gives you some food for thought. And if you've got any ideas for other juicy topics that nobody else ever seems to be talking about, I am more than happy to tackle them on this podcast because when I created the concept for this podcast, yes, I want to help you become a sales queen. Of course I do. I want to see more money in the hands of women globally. That is my mission. But I also want to make life easier. My big thing is about infinite abundance. It's about having an abundance of time, an abundance of energy, an abundance of like good feeling and gratitude in your life and business, an abundance of fun. And you can't have any of those things if it feels hard. And so, any other juicy topics, anything about challenges that you're facing, things that, if you don't have a mentor right now and you've got nobody to ask, what are the things, the burning questions that you would love to get some input on? I would love to tackle those things. Okay. So, shoot me a message over on Instagram. Tell me what those things are. And I will make sure that I schedule a show and give you a shout out. But for now, that is it for this episode. I hope you remember those key things that I said. Solve every problem once for now, once for the future. And, make sure that you take ownership of everything. Don't blame or complain. If something's gone wrong, take ownership of it first and you will solve it much more quickly. Okay. So thanks so much for listening. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you in the next episode.